Welcome to another episode of Barman Saturdays, and this week I also decided to take a look at Kaena the Prophecy, a 2003 CGI animated film from France, which began its life in 1995 as an idea for a video game. But the video game was eventually scrapped, and they decided to just turn it into a movie instead. Why the video game idea was dropped, I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to go look at the behind the scenes stuff. You can find it online on YouTube, because I guess it was included with the video game. But that video game itself was only released in Japan, apparently, which gets even weird when you consider, this film was, a French-Canadian project, according to Wikipedia. So, why is the game only in Japan? I have no idea. I can tell you this film was a massive failure, both critically and commercially, from Wikipedia. This bombed just hard at the box office, which does make me feel a bit sad for the team behind it, because they definitely had passion for this film. This was a labor of love. Unfortunately, it was a labor that was not well liked because, they just didn't have what they needed to make a good film. I mean, when you got animation issues. I mean, the fact that it's all drab colors makes sense because the world that they're on is dying. But at the same time, there's animations with their mouths and how they move their bodies, and at times the frame rate massively slows down and it just looks ugly because of it. You're like, come on, film, are you failing to load? I feel like, I'm watching a game, slowly move its load bar, tap buttons. It doesn't do anything besides probably cause more issues, but you're like, come on, hurry up. If I tap the buttons hard enough, it'll work better, right? So, yeah. Someone actually made a review on the Internet Movie Database going over a lot of the animation errors and stuff going on in the film. I mean, if you want a more thorough list on that, I'm not going to go into it because I didn't notice most of them because, I'm not paying that much attention to a film when I'm watching it usually to catch every little mistake, when they do certain moves, they stretch their body in really weird ways to make it look like they're moving, and it's really off-putting if you catch it and are paying attention to it. That stuff, just tends to go flying over my head unless it's very, very obvious. Really bad editing in some Voyager episodes where they'll do cutaways and zoom in on a character, then cutaway and zoom in on another character, stuff like that, is just painfully obvious sometimes. But this film, I didn't really pick up on most of those issues because it usually wasn't that pain-splittingly obvious unless you're looking for the details, I guess. As for the voice acting, they got a pretty good cast together for the English dub. Richard Harris, Tara Strong, Joe DiMaggio, Kristen Dunst. They got some talent here, and this was Richard Harris's last film before his death. And it's not a particularly good film. I mean, Richard Harris tries. If you're curious, he played Albus Dumbledore, in the first two Harry Potter movies, and he did a bunch of other roles over the course of his life, obviously. So he's a rather well-known actor. Not as well-known as, Jim Carrey or Arnold Schwarzenegger, I suppose, but, those big action stars sometimes stand out a lot more, because I can't think of too many people outside of, Jean-Claude Van Damme and stuff like that when it comes to actors, usually off the top of my head. Because I usually don't care about that stuff too much. I'm not interested, in the people playing the character. I'm interested in the character itself. Unfortunately, the voice acting here, though, is pretty hit or miss. Some are obviously trying, others are just there for a paycheck, apparently. So, it's uneven. I guess I can't be surprised, because this film was made with, a shoestring budget, because they basically took the software they used to make, cutscenes in PS2 games, and used that to basically make an entire movie. Which I guess was cheaper than buying the actual software and equipment necessary, for Pixar or someone to make a CGI film. So, bold decision on their part, I'll admit. But the film hasn't aged very well because of stuff like that. So, this definitely isn't going to look pretty I mean, I've seen worse animated movies by far, though. As for the story itself, it's a bit of a confusing mess. I mean, there's elements I get, like, oh, we have this race pretending to be gods to humanity, but they're not really gods, they're just using humans as slave labor by pretending to be gods. And eventually Kaena finds out about stuff like that, and we get the whole arc to put a stop to their plans and stuff like that. And we got, a device that holds all the memories of an entire alien race. And this one alien's like, yeah, I'm the last member of my species, but I'd like to get the collective memories of my people, and take it with me off-world, because I feel like that technology has caused a whole lot of problems, because, it made this giant tree of Axis that you people live on. So, yeah, we got some interesting ideas and concepts here, but the execution is very iffy and uneven at times. I feel like this film just needed a much better writer to bring everything together than they had. So yeah, Kaena the Prophecy is probably one of those films it's an interesting mess, at least to discuss. It's not bad, but it's not really good either, because of all of its technical issues and stuff like that just plague it. So yeah, I'd say it's sort of something you might want to watch. If you're looking for something that's interesting to talk about, because everything going on with it, because it's an interesting hot mess. But yeah, it's not something I'd recommend if you're trying to have a good experience. Though I guess there are some people online that really genuinely like it. So if you like it, more power to you. But in my opinion, it was an interesting effort. They gave it a good try, but they just couldn't bring it together for me. Until next time, then. See ya.